Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at Midhurst in West Sussex. It's a town situated about 12 miles to the north of Chichester. And we're going to be doing a roughly 7-mile linear walk from Midhurst to Petworth. It's actually the first part of the Sussex Diamond Way, a long distance path that runs from Midhurst in the west to Heathfield in the east. I believe it was established in 1995 to celebrate an anniversary of the Sussex Ramblers. Now I'm filming in the middle of July. It's a glorious sunny day. There's a nice little breeze that'll keep us cool as we go along. It should be perfect weather for walking, so do come along with us. Well, I'm starting my walk just on the eastern side of Midhurst. Unfortunately, I haven't got enough time really to look round the town itself, which is a shame because it consistently appears as one of the best places in the UK to live by the Sunday Times. So we're walking from the main car park along this causeway, and there are floodplains either side of me, heading to our first destination, which is the Cowdray Ruins, which is just in front of me here. So I'm filming fairly early in the morning because it's going to be quite a hot day later on, so the sun is only just coming up, but you do get some lovely shadows through the ruins there. Well, just before we have a look at the ruins, we're going to cross this bridge which takes us over the River Rother. It's 32 miles long and runs from Empshot in Hampshire in the west to Stopham near Pulborough in West Sussex, where it joins up with the River Arun, and then that in turn flows south out to the sea at Littlehampton. I should have mentioned at the start that we are in the South Downs National Park, and these are the ruins of Cowdray House. Once one of England's great Tudor houses that was largely destroyed by a fire on the 24th of September 1793. Well, if I give you a very brief history of it, originally there was a fortified manor house built here across from Midhurst on this side of the river between 1273 and 1284 by Sir John Bohun, and he called it Cowdray, which was the Norman word for the nearby hazel woods. In the 1520s, Sir David Owen, who I think was uncle to Henry VII, began constructing the present house on the site of the former home Cowdray, and I believe Henry VIII visited the house here at least 3 times. It's got a long history, but as I mentioned, it suffered that major fire in 1793, and it was never really repaired or rebuilt. And during the 19th century it was basically left to ruin, but it's still owned by the Viscount Cowdray. Well, as we start to leave the ruins, it brings back happy memories here. I used to play rugby for Midhurst, and well, this was the pitch here in front of the ruins. Now, it was a good 30 odd years ago, but I can still remember scoring the old try or two in that far corner. But just having a look at the views here, the clubhouse over in the far distance, that was the changing rooms. It was the Midhurst Sports Association. Lovely memories of evenings in the bar on a Saturday night there. Anyway, just panning across, you can see there's that slightly unusual 16th century, it's a 2-storey octagonal stone-built conduit house. It's known as the Round or Water Tower. Well, just to the east of the ruins are the iconic Cowdray Park Polo Grounds, and a couple of the pictures are just behind me here over my shoulder. And what a beautiful sight it looks too on a glorious sunny morning. So it's the home of Cowdray Park Polo Club, and the sport has been played here since 1910, but was largely relaunched in the 1950s. And the highlight of the season here is the British Open Polo Championship for the Gold Cup, which is one of the premier high gold tournaments in the world, if not the most prestigious. And that's been played here since 1956. And there are well over 450 matches played each season. The season runs from April to September. And I think there's 2 or 3 pitches here, and then one near the river, and then something like 6 other pitches at nearby Ambersham. And just looking across here, there's a lot of activity going on, flags flying and tents out there, because in 3 days' time it is the Gold Cup final, and it's a big event for Midhurst. And just here some hoses to hose the ponies down after they've been playing, and then these rings attached to the rope. This is where the ponies are kept while they're waiting before they go on for their chukkers. Well, just before we leave Cowdray Park, we'll have one final look at the quite stunning view behind me. You can probably hear the A272, which is just to the north of me, but what a beautiful scene. So you've got the town of Midhurst just over on the right there, and the ruins and the polo pitches, and in the far distance you can see the South Downs. Now I remember in years gone by, the Chiddingfold, Leconfield and Cowdray Hunt held their annual point-to-point steeplechases fixture here every Easter Monday, and there were big crowds, but they always had problems getting decent fields. Often they'd only have 3 or 4 horses in each race, mainly due to the hard ground and the fact that there were other fixtures on Easter Monday. So they moved the races to Parham near Storrington some years ago. But I remember coming here in the 1970s and watching the races, and the finish line was uphill here. Now I remember there was a big open ditch located round about here that had a hedge either side. Now obviously that ditch and fence is long gone, but I wonder if these 2 hedges are the originals. Could be. Well, we've crossed over the A272 and we're now making our way through the Cowdray Park Golf Course. Golf has been played here for over 100 years, and the present 18-hole course was built in 1920. Now the footpath actually crosses over a fairway, and I noticed there was a sign we've got to watch out for any golf balls, but fortunately not too busy at the moment. Well, there are some fantastic specimens of oak trees around here. Look at this one, smashing. And there's an even bigger one that we'll be seeing very shortly. Wow, still making my way through the golf course, but already some terrific views of the South Downs. A little hazy still in the morning sunshine, but beautiful nonetheless. Well, the crowd hushes now. This final putt for the Open Championship. A final check back, and it's on its way. Is it in? Is it in? Is it? Oh! We've made our way now to the eastern side of the golf course, and I'm now going to come across a tree that I've been looking forward to seeing for some time, and it's just behind me here. Isn't that terrific? It's the Queen Elizabeth oak, thought to be between 800 to 1,000 years old, and Queen Elizabeth I purportedly visited the tree in 1591, and at that time it would have been an impressive tree then. It's a sessile oak, and earlier this year the girth was measured at 12.6 metres, which makes it the third largest sessile oak in the UK, according to the Woodland Trust. Well, it's now a little fragmented and hollow inside, so its girth is getting larger as the years go by. I know how it feels. Well, a little pit stop just to admire the quite gorgeous scenery around here. It really is quite beautiful. So there's the Queen Elizabeth oak over there, and just to the left of her there's a pond. Difficult to see because there are quite a bit of foliage and bushes around the edge of it, and we're just coming through now this lovely avenue of lime trees that was planted back in 2012 to celebrate the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. And then there's the South Downs in the far distance there. Well, we're continuing to head eastwards, just come through a lovely little shaded wood and up a sunken track past Heath End Farm. And we're now going to follow a little road that's going to take us to our next destination, the village of Lodsworth. Well, it's certainly well signposted, this Sussex Diamond Way. And here we are, the village of Lodsworth. Let's have a little exploration. Well, this really is a delightful little village. Beautiful houses. What's that? Primrose Cottage. Storehouse. Stores house, should I say. And then just up here on the right, the old post office. Lodsworth gets its name from Lod, or loader's enclosure, Anglo-Saxon. And this is the Hollis Arms pub, and it's suggested that there may well have been a pub here as far back as 1630, although the present building looks a little younger. It's named after the Hollis family, former major landowners in the parish. It was previously called the Crown, amongst other names in the past. Ah, there's an interesting blue plaque on the wall there. E.H. Shepherd, illustrator of those two well-known books, Wind in the Willows and Winnie the Pooh. I think he's buried in the churchyard. It'll be interesting to see if we can find his grave there. Oh wow, look at that. What a gorgeous cottage with the wisteria, hollyhocks, roses. Oh, quite exquisite. Love it. And here's the quite delightful church of St. Peter's in Lodsworth. Now the nave may be 12th century and the tower dates from 1300. The chancel was added in the 14th century and the aisle and transept built in the 19th century, when the whole church, apart from the tower, was restored. I think it has 6 bells. Well, we'll have a little look inside. Now, as is always the case, I can't find the switch for the light, so it'll be quite dark in here, I expect, which won't be good for the camera. But hopefully it'll give you a little bit of an idea. Organ there, and the pulpit. Ah, super stained glass window there behind the altar as well. And I love the wooden beam ceiling. A rather super looking painting over there, which I shall go and investigate. Well, I'll try and get a photograph of the painting. I think it's called The Widow's Son. I just spotted over in the corner here a little trolley or cart, which presumably they use for carrying coffins. Again, I'll try and get a photo with the flash for a better picture. Now, the manor house here was built by the Bishop of London, and he owned the manor in the Middle Ages, although the present house is likely to have been the home of the bishop's steward who would have administered the manor. Now, there was a manorial court here with a dungeon in the basement, and it was unusual in that Henry I granted Lodsworth special status as a liberty village in the 12th century, which basically gave the villagers special rights, virtually amounting to exemption from the feudal system. Indeed, the manorial court was independent from the county justice system, so even the most serious crimes were tried here, with executions at Gallows Hill at Graffham to the south of here. And here we are in the lower churchyard, and we found the gravestone of Ernest H. Shepherd, the illustrator of Winnie the Pooh and Wind in the Willows. I just made my way down from the church. You can probably hear some machinery in the background. It's definitely harvest time, that's for sure. Now, just by me here is St. Peter's Well. And it's quite well hidden. You could easily miss it, but it's a spring, and well, it was a place of pilgrimage way back in the Middle Ages, especially for people with eye problems. And I've just been chatting to a lovely gentleman, a local here, was telling me that it was recently consecrated by the vicar, and it's quite deep down there by the looks of things. Well, just made our way across a beautiful meadow that's been left to wildflowers, butterflies loving it. And now just heading down into our little valley, our next destination, Eel Bridge. Well, that's the little path that we've followed through a meadow. We're now on Eel Bridge, which goes over the River Rother, which, as you can see, is down there. And sure enough, this is where villagers used to trap baby eels many years ago. The River Rother is 14 miles long, and its source is at Marley Heights in the north near Hazelmere, and it will join River Rother at Lodge Bridge to the south of the A272. It really is getting quite hot now, but we've got plenty of water for both myself and Logan. Now we're just heading through the pretty settlement of River. Can't tell you too much about it other than it's full of really exquisite properties, but our footpath literally goes straight through it, so we won't get much chance to have a look round. Well, we've left River now, heading towards our next destination, which is Pitt's Hill, and you can see we've got an uphill bit to do, but there's some lovely stone steps that's making life a lot easier, and it's taking us through a lovely shaded wood as well, which is keeping us nice and cool, which is just what the doctor ordered. Beautiful in here, it really is. You can see it's quite steep down there. And what I should have done was put Logan on a lead, and he could have pulled me up. I wasn't thinking. Well folks, if you're going to be following this walk, and I know a few people do walk after seeing the video, this is an important point. That's where I've just come up uphill on some stone steps, and you come across this four-way sign. It's not completely obvious because it says Diamond Way sort of straight on into a brick wall, but ignore the track to the right, ignore the one directly to the left, but instead take this one that just carries on slightly uphill, so it's not quite straight ahead. but it carries on up the side of this hill. I had to stop and look back at that view. I think that's Blackdown Hill. Quite stunning. Wow, just a lovely walk for about a mile or so through shaded woodland, now coming on a southward direction. And now that wonderful building over in the distance there is the Pittsill House, considered to be one of the most important houses in West Sussex. It started to be built in 1760 on the site of an earlier house and was completed in 1794. Indeed, it was home of the famous Mitford family right from 1760. Well, another look back at the house there. It looks like they've got a lake down in the valley, but the views that they must get from up there are incredible. You've got this little bit of woodland in front of me here, and we're just going to go through that kissing gate there. But if I continue to turn round, the views from the house that they will get for the South Downs over there, incredible. Making our way towards our next destination, which is the village of Tillington, and as we do so we're passing through this vineyard. It's the Upperton Vineyard. Vines were planted here in 2005. There's now something like 6,000 vines here, producing between 6,000 and 10,000 bottles a year. Apparently it produces a mixture of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, but a perfect location on this gentle south-facing hill. Wow, I thought that first field was big, but this one's even bigger. These vines go on for as far as the eye can see almost. And the South Downs, I keep going on about them, but they really do look quite magnificent this morning. We've now reached our next destination, the village of Tillington, and from here, just as I enter, get a terrific view of the church tower. We'll have a look at the church shortly, but let's have a look at the pub first, I think. Well, the Horse Guards pub there, originally 3 cottages. The building's over 350 years old. Previously called the New Star, but it's been called the Horse Guards since the 1840s, when part of the Horse Guards cavalry would frequent the inn while their horses rested on grass in grounds of Petworth House. And then just over to the right there, the post office stores, which I believe closed in 1999. Well, this is our second church of the walk, All Hallows Church in Tillington, which is behind me here. Well, in the 1180s, a stone church was built on the site, and there are some remains of it in the south aisle. The earliest church had a nave, south aisle and chancel, and part of the chancel had 14th century alterations. Now, the old tower was demolished and replaced with one that had this very distinctive Scots crown spire, which I believe is the most southerly of its type in the UK in 1807, and the north aisle and much of the chancel now is from the late 19th century. And I have seen a picture of the church from 1805, so that was before the spire was added, and also a famous painting by John Constable done in 1834 that shows the church after the spire had been added. I think it has 5 bells. Well, very much on the homeward leg now. Left Tillington, and behind me here is the wall of Petworth Park. Something like 700 acres on the other side, and I believe the wall is something like 14 miles long. Let's go and have a look inside. We've reached our final destination, Petworth House, which is just behind me here. Isn't that magnificent? It's a late 17th century country house rebuilt in 1688 by Charles Seymour, the 6th Duke of Somerset, and it was altered in the 1870s. The site was previously occupied by a 13th century fortified manor house, and I believe the 13th century chapel and undercroft still survives. Well, I'll give you a little bit of brief history. For many years it was the southern home of the Percy family, the Earls and Dukes of Northumberland. Since 1750 the house and the estate have been owned by the prominent Wyndham family. And the house is famous for its extensive art collection made by George Wyndham, the 3rd Earl of Egremont, who lived here between 1751 and 1837, contained many works by his friend William Turner. But the house and the deer park were handed over to the nation in 1947 by Charles Wyndham, the 3rd Baron Leconfield, and it's now managed by the National Trust. And John Max Henry Scawen Wyndham, the 7th Baron Leconfield, 2nd Baron Egremont, generally known as Max Egremont, he lives in the south wing, allowing the remainder to be open to the public. Well, now the extensive deer park landscape by Capability Brown these days contains the largest herd of fallow deer in the UK, something like 700 I believe. Of course, Logan and I do a lot of our videos in the New Forest. There's something like 13 to 1400 fallow deer there, but of course they're not considered as one herd. Oh, I think you deserve a dip today, mate. It's one of those days. What a fantastic way to end the walk. You feel a lot better for that. How deep are you going to go in? He's having a think about it. Come on, fella. I don't know if there's any fish in there. There's quite a few ducks, but we're well away from them. Well, folks, we've come to the end of our walk, doing the end scene here right in front of Petworth House. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment. And as I always say, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. That way hopefully you'll be able to join us for another walk sometime in the future. And do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. We've had a super walk today. The weather has been quite glorious, and some of the countryside between Midhurst and Petworth, well, it was just stunning. We're off to find a pint somewhere in Petworth. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio.